What's up, everybody? It's your favorite second contender's favorite nerd, and today we are looking at the Transform Element Optimus Prime. I forget the name, TE-01, whatever it is. A lot of people have been asking me to take a look at this. Luckily, someone reached out and sent it to me. Shout out to him. His name is Dennis. I don't know how much of his personal information he wants out there, so I'm gonna hold tight. But I appreciate him giving me the opportunity because I know it was going to be something that people wanted to know my thoughts on. Real quick, per usual, I always put my immediate thoughts right out of the box and my uncut, subjective afterthoughts on the Nerd Rage Patreon, link in the description. That being said, materials wise and feel. The plastic feels like sort of standard plastic. Nothing that's going to excite you, nothing that's going to knock your socks off, simultaneously nothing that's going to disappoint you necessarily, depending on what you're used to and what you prefer. It does have some weight to it and it does feel solid. Now let's take a look at accessories. He does come with this signature Prime gun. It's a decent enough sculpt. It's a little, this is nitpicky, I understand, but it's a little soft. Like the sculpting is a little soft on the gun, which doesn't sit right with me for some reason. Like it ends up looking like something it shouldn't, if you know what I mean. But it is a nice metallic flecked plastic, so that looks really good. And we have some silver paint on there, and then it has some light up features and stuff, but I don't know what batteries it takes, and the chances are I don't have them, so we won't be looking at that, but I'm sure, not sure. I'm going to assume it works fine. He holds it just fine, utilizing the typical Masterpiece peg lock into the palm procedure. Peg palm procedure. But he holds it just fine, no issues. He also comes with this axe, because you can't have a Prime without one. It's standard. You have to do it. The rules of the gods. Orange translucent plastic, nothing else really to say. It is a little bit denser towards the bottom than it is towards the top, which does give a nice effect. Other than that, nothing really to talk about. It swivels as well. In order to use it, they purposefully show that this thumb, and I'm not going to test against it because, like I said, I'm scared of breaking it, gets tucked under the fingers. Not sure if it makes a difference, just mentioning it. And then you have to open up this section here and then rotate the hand inside, which will, so that's not off to a good start, is it? There it is. And then that will reveal this little bar for this C-clip to pop onto, and then you have him with his axe, and it works just fine, no issues, locked on there. He also comes with this trailer hitch adapter, which plugs in truck mode and then allows you to use the trailer. And that can be used by plugging into the back of the truck right now. Gimmicks wise, of course, he comes with the matrix chamber. This opens up and then this gets stuck in a bit. But there you go. And then the matrix is in there. It does come out. All of this inside here is painted beautifully, like metallic blues, gold, silvers, like the matrix. Everything in there is done to the nines. They threw everything they had at that. That looks very nice. And let's look at the figure. So the head, it's a blue plastic, it looks like to me, and it has some gray paint in there and then white paint on the face and then the eyes. It is very cartoon accurate, but once again, it just doesn't have that wow factor for me. It doesn't do it for me personally, but it's a very accurate sculpt, and the antennas do swivel. And then you have the blue paint on the eyes. It's just a straight paint as opposed to a metallic also. The head is on a hinge swivel, so that's the preferred way to do business in my opinion. You get up to there, you get a little bit down, you get the swivel, so all of that works quite nicely. All right, the entire arm we're going to talk about separately. So you have a universal joint at the shoulder, tension to get you out 90 degrees, which is great. You can also swivel it around 90 degrees, which is great. It's on a soft ratchet, so it's a little bit of a bummer. If you want it there, that's fine. If you want it there, that's fine. Or there, but if you want it right here, I got it to hold right now, but the slightest little is gonna mess it up. So you can see the teeth, they're large teeth, and that's what creates that problem. There's a bicep swivel, so no problems there. No paint on the arm to include this bit here, which I wish they did do. I enjoy that. Now, there is a butterfly joint. You have to press this button to kind of release it. There. And then you can get it out. This is mainly for transformation, but it works all the same. So you can get the butterfly out 90 degrees. So no issues there. The only issue is you have to kind of be careful because you have this side mirror here. And then it's a little bit of a bear to get it back in. I've used a tool to keep pressure Let me see if I can do it with my finger. There, I got it with my finger that time, so to speak. And then you're good to go again. You're locked in. It's interesting. I'm not sure. I'm not sure how I feel about it, honestly. I guess it's fine ultimately. You have an elbow on a single hinge that gets you past 90 degrees, which is great. You also have this counter elbow. Now, this helps for transformation, I believe, but it also helps in regard to when you have the hand tucked inside of the forearm, when you have the axe attached, because you can kind of use that as an elbow and then manipulate the arm around, you know, and get a little bit of expression, because sometimes it can get a little jammed up here. I think that's the intention. I don't know. And then you have the hand. Swivels here at the wrist. Fingers are on a base pin knuckle. The articulation of the index finger is independent from the bottom three. The bottom three have an additional hinge at the secondary knuckle, and then so does the index finger, but that is separate. The thumb is sitting off at a 45-degree angle for its base hinge, and then a separate hinge at its secondary knuckle. It's interesting. We don't see that too often. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm not mad at it. It was off-putting at first because I'm just not used to it, but ultimately it doesn't really seem to make a difference. And no typewriter fingers, so that's nice as well. Same for the other side. Now let's get back to the figure. Waist, you get a swivel, no problem there. No ab crunch that I can tell. You have silver paint on the grill, and you have gray paint, it looks like. It might be plastic, actually. I think that's plastic, around the sides. For the hip skirts, you get the yellow paint on there. These might actually... No, I don't think it is painted. It's just like a nice plastic, so kudos for the plastic choice. And then the yellow paint looks good. You know, yellow paint's a hard one to do. We have universals for hips. As you can see, it's a soft ratchet in there. You can even see the teeth grabbing. You're going to have the same problems there as you do here. That's just a design choice. Not quite the full Monty, but a good range. Pretty much the full Van Damme there. And then you have nothing, just tension out to the side. Nice sturdy white plastic for this bottom thigh pieces. Like, it feels very solid. Thigh swivel. Oh no, it's not there. What they did was put it here. I'm not sure why that was done. Thigh swivel built around the universal would have been the preferred way to go there, but this will still get you the movement that you want. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about that. I'm not. It's like a workaround. I'm okay with it, but it's not preferred. Silver paint there, blue plastic for the bottom, and then gray paint down here on the toes. Speaking of the, we have an ankle tilt down, basically just at the toe, and it's ever so slight, and then a toe tilt up, let's say, and then you get a secondary tilt at the tip of the toe, as it were, and then this piece can kind of move around to cover down, but you do get a nice ankle rocker. It slides down from there to there, get you a significant ankle rocker, so that's nice. And then from the back, pretty much clean as a whistle, I'd say. No real complaints there. Size comparison wise, there it is with the Magic Square Prime. It might be slightly taller. If you'd like, we could do a sit down Saturday on this week. I had something else planned, but if you prefer to see this, I know that people really enjoyed the Hot Rod one. I can do these two, since I won't really be able to do it with the MP44. So if this would be something that you'd be interested in seeing, feel free to let me know in the comments. If I see kind of enough activity in regards to that, I'll get it done. There he is with MP36, so a little bit taller than him as well. And there he is with a Masterpiece car. And hopefully that will give you enough to sort of make your decision about. Let's get him transformed. And you know I like to get as much stuff out of the way as quickly as possible. So let's fold in these fingers here. And we gotta get them kind of as narrow or as skinny as we can, and then fold in the thumb, and then the trigger finger goes around it. We open up this panel, just like we did for the axe, pretty much, and then close that in and close the panel. Same for the other side. We're gonna make the profile of the bottom three fingers as narrow as possible, which can be a little tricky, and fold in the thumb, and then fold in the trigger finger, open up this panel, fold the hand in, close it back up. Now, I've been hearing that it's better to start with the lower legs than it is with the arms and chest and so forth, which the instructions recommend, so that's the way we're going to do it. So there's a panel at the front that you want to open up, and then also one at the back. You want to close this piece up, bring it around, and tab it in to the inner leg, and then untab the fuel tank which opens up this entire section. You can then flip the foot up, and this is hooked in. So if you push here and bend it that way, it'll unhook it. No, I'm sorry. Push here and bend it that way. It'll unhook it. Don't do what I just said to do first. Bring this around and then hook it back in to this side. And then you can bring this foot down. And I'm trying to make sure you can see everything. It's a double hinge, so make sure everything is lined up. Bring this piece up. As you do, you'll notice that the fuel can can't plug in properly. So bring it around, fuel tank rather. Swivel it 180 and then flip it down on the other side. You're basically inverting the leg. And then this will all close up nicely. This piece comes down, and then there's a separate panel that comes down that will plug into the bottom section of the leg. Let's do just that part again. Front panel open, back panel open. Back panel flap goes back onto itself, wraps around, and plugs back into the inner section of the leg. Unpeg the fuel tank. I don't know why I keep saying fuel can. Straighten out this section, flip the foot up. You might have to extend this. I'm not exactly sure. We'll find out. And then you want to unhook it. So you got to put pressure here to unhook from the inside of the leg. Bring it around to the opposite side. Plug back in. Bring this foot around. Make sure that's in focus. And as you do so, it's on a double hinge. So you want to make sure that you have it at 90 degrees and 90 degrees, which can be a little challenging. Bring this back around. You'll notice that the fuel can won't, well, I just did it again. What am I doing? Bring it down this way, spin it, bring it back around, and plug it in. Then you can collapse this flap, and then it has a secondary flap, which will come down and plug in. And then your final step is just to slide the feet to the inner section of these two sliding bars. For the thigh, you got to get a piece of clearance, so to speak, between this knee and this thigh. And once you do so, you can spin this panel here to the inside. You want to bring it all the way down to the very bottom, and then collapse this other panel to the inside of the thigh. Then this piece, you got to pull out and then spin around 180 degrees. Same for the other side. Let's get him down on bended knee like Boys to Men. Slide this down a little bit, which will give you a little bit of help in regard to spinning it, which can be a little tricky, and you got to like clear it just right. I don't like this section at all. There. And then slide it all the way down to the bottom of the thigh, and then collapse this piece to the intersection of the thigh. But don't forget your second thigh cover like I did on the side. Bring it out, spin it around 180. Now we're gonna do the hip skirts, and then we're gonna do the head, and then we're gonna get to the rest, okay? So this whole front hip skirt has to come unpegged, and it pegs in right there. And the same goes for the side pieces. They have to come unpegged and then come around to this opposite side here. And the pegs, I believe, are supposed to face toward the back. Turn the head 180 degrees. Pull this section here up and out. And then this comes down and sits over top of the face, and then this back panel collapses up against the back of the head. Now we have to get these back pieces untabbed so we can get this piece untabbed. In order to do so, we got one more thing to do here, which is to get this bumper untabbed from the butt cheeks. And once we have that, we have a lot more access. And you gotta kind of push out to release these flank pieces, and then you have to get the backpack up, and it's a little challenging there. Once you have that, you spin it up and then spin it 180 degrees. I'll move the camera so we can look anew. bend down this gray tab, which will allow you to pull up to get these pieces out. Once they're out, you have to kind of extend them all the way, which requires you to flip this tab or flap open, and then this flap open. Same for the other side. We want to fillet. Let's fillet this puppy. Open, open, and then we can push that back down and you're all sorted. Now we got to spin a couple things 180 degrees. So let's get that step done. We'll open these up here. And then on the back, we're going to open up these sections here. So we're basically splitting him at the flank, or I'm not sure why that piece is not going. Let's find out. There. Get those up and out of the way, and then bring down this piece, which is the cab. Now I'm cutting this in because it's hard to see and I think it would be beneficial. There's a button right here that once you slide it out to the side, I hope you can see it right there, it will release the kind of inside bars that will allow you to get the space to open it. So I'm gonna try to do it with the tool. I don't think I'm gonna be able to. But once you have it open, then all of that will extend. At that point, you can swap grills, and then we have to swap bumpers. In order to do so, you need to get these pieces, make sure they're all the way down. This one is, this one here is not. And once that has cleared, this piece can swivel independently around the waist so that you have the truck bumper in line with the grill. Now we're gonna start cleaning up a little bit. So we're gonna flip this up, flip the gray places in, and then fold them both underneath. So that sits tight and it gets out of your way. And then we gotta get this head in there, and I can tell you this is no easy feat either. So it's these tabs that cause you some problems. And I think, there you go. If you just, there you go, and then you can, so you swivel the head around, then you can get that through. Once you get it through, you're gonna have to bring it back though, aren't you? Yep, okay. Let me get this, so you're gonna have to bring this back around and forward a bit in order for that head to kind of sit flush up against the back of this grill. But this is what you're looking for. Pull the smokestacks out, and you also have to get this piece out. You can have this piece open the entire time, but I just don't want anything else extra sticking out. So press this button here, which will release the shoulder, and get this spun around and sit this back plate between the arm and the shoulder. We're gonna do that on both sides. Smokestack out, open this up, extend this piece, close it back, release the shoulder, spin it around, have this sit between the smokestack and the arm. Let's get rid of this piece. So this is on a slider. Make sure this is forward and the red piece, which is also on a slider, is back. Close that, and then you should be able to tuck all of that in next to the head. Once again, slider, make sure it's all the way towards the front of the cab. Make sure the red piece is all the way back. Fold it in, and then this will collapse. Now we kind of want to make this start looking like a truck. So bring up at the ratchets on the thighs. Extend this. You want this to kind of sit like you would expect it to. Make sure that you have your cab extended, and then your waist pieces here that connect to the hips all the way down. Fold up using the top piece here to clear the hip skirts underneath, and get underneath of this gray piece here. Let's do that again. So as you can see, this piece is sitting up a bit. So we got to slide that down and then get this up and over the hip skirt, and also underneath this gray piece inside. And then we can actually finish one thing. We can tab the legs together. So we're gonna bend the elbows out. We're gonna bend these pieces up. We're going to straighten out this cab section here so that this is in line. We're gonna make sure that it's done on the other side so that this is in line. And all of this should swing down and plug in. If we've done it correctly, we shouldn't have too much of a problem. If we haven't, we certainly will. So here we go. Spin it in. That's basically it. We're gonna do it on the other side, make sure that we're all clean. And you kind of have to just tighten up all this stuff to clean it up, but this is what we're looking for in theory. Let me see if I can clean all of this up on camera. I mean off camera rather. Clicking in these shoulders into the tabs on the back plate will certainly help, and clicking in, maybe I'll just do it on camera. This piece to this section here. That's pretty clean, Mac. You also want to take your smokestacks and flip them around to the outside, which is a nice little touch on both sides. This is what the instructions show. To bend at the white hinge and then wrap these pieces around on the back and then collapse all of this up. The problem is the issue between this section here and this section. So there's no good way to really do it. Now, I reached out to a couple people about it and they told me to check out Pake's. He had another, once again, an interesting perspective on it that I think may work better. Let's take a look at that. So he suggests bending it at the white knuckle once again, and then having them facing inward toward one another so that when you swing them over top, they end up being, if you can clear this one, you gotta clear it there. They end up being like this, where both of the nubs, so to speak, are facing towards you. And then once you get to this point, you fold them back and you slide them basically up in this channel as opposed to back around on themselves. And then you push up and in, and I gotta tell you, that worked like a champ. So I definitely co-sign his method. I'm not sure if that is just an instruction error or what, but that works with no problem. So yeah, I'm a fan. So there it is. Let me clean them up. We'll take a look at them. So there it is. Rolls like a champ. Rubber tires, maybe? I think so. My dexterity, my feeling in my fingers is trash. But yeah, it looks good. I guess we can sort out these windshield wipers. I think it's pretty spectacular. Like in terms of the engineering, I know the engineering may seem frustrating, but it's kind of it's complex, but it's not entirely like bang your head against the wall frustrating. It's very interesting. I like it. I like it a lot. I wish that some of this detail was painted, but I know that, you know, hyper cartoon and whatnot, so I get it. But nice sculpt work either way. Rolls well. I like the wheel wells. I like how clean. The cab's a little narrow for my personal taste, but once again, cartoon aesthetics. I get it. But yeah, it's pretty. I don't really have any complaints. This one panel on mine has a hard time staying tabbed in. The one that we fought with for a minute and then eventually got. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's solid. And then Tiger Tracks. I think that's pretty accurate. I think it's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know what to say about this. took me by surprise. A couple red variations in there that aren't great, but other than that, I think it's pretty solid. The yellow paint looks good. Silver paint, once again, it's a little simple for my taste, but I get it. My biggest complaints regarding this alt mode are more to do with stylistic choices than they are with objective criticism. Final thoughts wise, let's talk about the negatives. It's a very complex transformation, and with that needs to come very explicit, meticulous, and detailed instructions, which this does not. There's also some instruction misleads, I would say. The only other thing I had to talk about in regard to the transformation is that there are a lot of pieces that are kind of swinging around as you're transforming it, and like if it was tolerance better where you could easily get everything out of your way on those bars or whatever you were working with, it would make the entire process a bit easier to digest. And those would be kind of my biggest complaint. But there are others. There's a lot of soft ratchets, not a lot of hard ratchets. The ratchet teeth grabbing at such wide angles make posing a little bit more challenging. And also, I feel like it could use a lot more paint. I know people don't always feel that way. That's what I would want. I also have subjective issues with the sculpt, and particularly the face and head. It's just too tuned for my taste. It is G1 to a fault in my opinion. But that's certainly subjective. Objectively, I don't know where this company came from, but I get the impression it's not their first rodeo, because not only is the engineering complex, it's not entirely frustrating. The legs in particularly are intuitive and ingenious, fun and unique, but the build of the figure and the durability of the figure and the materials of the figure make me think that this company may have a little experience in the production market. I think the alt mode looks great. I think both modes clean up very well. I like the sculpt generally. However, there are elements that are a little too tuned for my taste. It has a great feel. It has good weight. The articulation is well done. It's a recommend from me as long as you're okay with complex transformations and you're okay with the general sculpt of the head. It's a lot of work to transform this thing, but in some ways it's more rewarding than a lot of others that are equally as complex. I'm not sure if that makes sense or not, but that's how I feel about it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.